It is another Wednesday night, and it is a pleasure to have you join us for another 1 hour and a half of news served with the extra touch of fine details. Finance and economy, or should I simply say, money matters lead the pack. And on a cheery note, we begin with the central bank's announcement on the introduction of new Naira notes, schedules to begin circulation in December. There is quite a bit on President Buhari's engagement in Korea. We shall feed you in with the talking points between him and the Korean leader, as well as the captains of industries he played host to. Call it investment drive on the upswing mode, and you won't be wrong. Cushioning the effects of the ravaging flood gets great attention at this Wednesday's Federal Executive Council. Also tonight, as the road to the 2023 elections narrows down, the umpire INEC has observed what it considers gross violation of the Commission's rules on decent and peaceful campaign. It summons political parties to the discussion table to enable the ideal thrive. There is much more from the political landscape that would be coming your way. How are you coping with the fuel scarcity in your area? We shall take you to Lagos for a peep into the situation. Join us for the latest development around flood in Rivers State and the succor of victims in Bauchi received. The piece on Kaltungo snakebite treatment is one I urge you not to miss. Well, this is just a tip of the iceberg, as tonight is a total package. But the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umaruba, and this is News Extra. You're welcome. Do you know that the global best practice is for central banks to redesign, produce and circulate new local legal tender every 5 to 8 years? Well, over here, it is too long overdue, as the Naira has not been redesigned in the last 20 years. But the good news is that the wait is over, and new tender will begin to circulate December 15th, 2022. Leah Katumba today will tell us, or will take us through the exercise, how the exercise will also look like.
The Naira redesigning is long overdue, as currency management faced several daunting challenges in recent times. The concerns have continued to grow in scale and sophistication, with attendant and unintended consequences for the integrity of both the CBN and the country. Governor Godwin Emefiele itemized the challenges to include significant hoarding of banknotes by members of the public, with statistics showing that over 80% of currency in circulation are outside the vaults of commercial banks. Worsening shortage of clean and fit banknotes, with attendant negative perception of the CBN and increased risk to financial stability. Increasing ease and risk of counterfeiting evidenced by several security reports. Crime and criminality is hurting the Naira.
Also, in view of the prevailing level of security situation in the country, the CBN is convinced that the incidence of terrorism and kidnapping will be minimized, as access to large volume of money outside the banking system used as source of funds for ransom payments will begin to dry up.
Considering the challenges, President Muhammadu Buhari gave the CBN approval to redesign, produce and circulate new series of banknotes at 100, 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira. Emefiele instructed all deposit money banks to begin returning the old notes immediately, while the newly designed currency will be released to the banks in order of first-come, first-served basis. Customers of banks are advised to begin paying into their bank accounts the existing currency to enable them withdraw the new bank notes once circulation begins in mid-December 2022 and deposits charges have been suspended.
Even if you don't have a bank account, you should be able to conduct banking services without necessarily having a bank account. However, if you're carrying cash, you can go to the nearest bank branch near you. They will take your cash and open an account for you for the purpose of transforming the whole naira, right, into the bank's vault, and then collecting the new naira when we begin to release them.
Emefiele says the Apex Bank will continue to fine-tune the program to avert burdening Nigerians the more. In Abuja, Leah Baba today, NTA News.
Well, thank you so much, Leah, for that. And with me to shed more light on the issue of the new Naira note, we have Professor Uche Walike of the Nasarawa State University. He is also the Chairman, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Abuja branch. Professor, you're welcome to News Extra.
Thanks so much, Fatima.
Well, I could see that you were smiling when you were watching the report, so...
Oh yeah, I was smiling. I like the way you described it. Cheering news, good news.
Okay.
Yes,
You're talking about...
It's a welcome development.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how did we get to the point that 80% of the currency we have as Nigerian Naira notes, it's outside the bank vaults? How did we get there?
Well, if you have an economy that is huge in terms of the informal sector, you should expect that. As of last time I checked, the money and credit and stats of the central bank, about 3.3 trillion is circulating, is currency in circulation. Of course, currency circulation is made up of the paper and notes circulating outside the banks, and then the one you have in the vaults. So 80% of that is outside the bank. And as I said earlier on, where you have a huge informal sector, that is bound to happen. Although in our own case, it's compounded by the fact that you have a lot of hoarding taking place, just as the Central Bank Governor noted. You have people who have the tendency of keeping this money under their pillow or in banks, and so on. And when you have that kind of situation, it fuels corruption, it fuels criminal, activities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. We've heard from the reports, and also even before the report, that 15th December 2022 to January 31st 2023 is the time that
for the implementation.
Yes, for the implementation.
Yeah.
But is that enough time to change the currency in circulation with that huge amount of money in circulation?
Yes, that's talking about 2.66 trillion, 80% of that. Well, ordinarily one would say it's not enough. That's about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes, I recall when India did in 2016, when India did demonetization. We can call it that. It lasted from 8th May to end of December. That's about 7 weeks. And when the European Central Bank also did theirs in 2002, it was for 2 months. So I would say a period of 6 weeks may appear not enough. But of course, I understand the Central Bank what they're trying to do. Even if you put 1 week, Nigerians will want, or you put 6 months rather, Nigerians will want to wait until close towards the end of the time before they start responding. So I want to believe that with time the central bank of course will review it, and if there is need to extend, the central bank will extend. But what I have about the timing is the commencement date of 15 December. I would have expected it to start in January, first week in January, second January, than starting on 15th of December because of the December activities, of activities and so on.
And maybe it's because it's a political year, 2023.
Yes, so I've also had the argument that it should have happened after elections. No, I don't think that should be the case. The timing of having it before election is proper, because central bank of course is also targeting the volume of cash that will be used during election. So it's good, it's done now, but I'm saying rather than having 15 December, we could start it earlier, after the festive period.
On
1st January or 2nd January. That would have made a lot of sense.
Okay, but with all of this, how would this policy now benefit the economy and Nigerians at large?
I think it has a lot of positives for the Nigerian economy. The central bank governor mentioned the reason why it is doing that. It says it's having some currency management challenges, and it gave reasons why that is so. A significant hoarding of the currency doesn't help the economy when you have so much money circulating outside the banks. And of course, it makes very difficult implementation of monetary policy transmission. Okay, central bank has been having difficulty targeting inflation, which is the final a target, because it has little handle over the broad money, what is called broad money. One of the components of broad money, which is the intermediate target of monetary policy, is currency in circulation. So because central bank cannot control that currency in circulation, it's having difficulty targeting inflation. So you notice that even when central bank has been tightening monetary policy, inflation rate has also been rising aside the supply side issues. So I think it will benefit the economy. He also mentioned the issue of counterfeiting. There's evidence that the currency is being counterfeited, and of course the issue of 30 notes. I'm sure if I ask you the last time you saw clean 1,000 naira notes or clean 100 naira notes, I'm sure you say it's a long time. So it's an opportunity to for me to sanitize the system. And as you rightly said, 20 years down the line we've not done that. This is the time for us to do it.
So the time is right.
Yes, I say it's an idea whose time has come.
Wow. Okay, now how will this affect the value chain of the naira already battered, like people say, by the market forces?
Yes, it's going to affect it to the extent that the central bank will now be able to use monetary policy to control the money supply. As I said earlier on, you can't control money supply when you don't have control over what is circulating outside. So if the central bank is able to now have some of all this naira outside in circulation coming now, okay, the central bank will have an idea of how much is even circulating. So it can properly now target its monetary policy. Yes, we admit inflation rate is caused by some other factors, which in my view are in the domain of the fiscal authorities. But what the central bank can handle, it will be able to handle it if this policy is properly implemented.
Oh, thank you so much, Professor Uche, for your insight on this matter. I wish us all the best, I would say.
Thank you, Fatima.
All right, that was Professor Uche Waleke. He is the Chairman, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Abuja branch. Now, Nigeria and the Republic of South Korea have resolved to deepen and enhance the highly beneficial relations between the two countries to a level that better reflects the sizes of the economies, shared democratic values, and dynamism of the industrious people. This formed the major highlights of the high-level talks between President Muhammadu Buhari and his South Korean counterpart in Seoul. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports.
This is President Muhammadu Buhari's first official visit to South Korea since coming to power in 2015. It is equally the first formal engagement between the Nigerian leader and President Yoon Suk-yeol of the Republic of South Korea. Since establishment of bilateral ties in 1980, however, both countries enjoy robust relations with volume of trade between them driven mainly by Korea's manufactured goods and Nigeria's oil and gas rising to $2 billion in 2021. Discussions between the president and the Korean leader centered on ways and means of widening the scope of trade relations and economic cooperation between their countries beyond the long-standing gas supply contracts.
We see Nigeria as a very big and a very important market, and so I think that the takeaway clearly is going to be a greater Korean investment in Nigeria. And they emphasize the importance of Mr. President being here personally and engaging with all these actors, the economic actors as well as the political actors, to be able to showcase, really what Nigeria has to offer in these areas. And I might add that there were also some Nigerian entrepreneurs and business people who were also here meeting with their Korean counterparts. So I think the clear and obvious takeaway is this increased investments, Korean investment in Nigeria. I spoke about the measures that are being taken, including some agreements that will be signed to, enable increased trade between our two countries.
On piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, to which Korean ships had fallen victim, President Buhari noted that the level of attacks had decreased considerably over the last 1 year due to the provision of equipment to the Nigerian Navy and NIMASA by government, and commended the Korean authorities for the supply of a naval vessel towards enhancing security in the maritime domain.
They also talked about defense cooperation, and of course they were, recognized some of the security challenges that Nigeria has been facing in the areas of security. And the South Korean president talked about, the support that they were ready to provide Nigeria in this context. We also talked about the missile tests that are being conducted by North Korea, and Mr. President, emphasized that it was very important for global peace and security that there should be peace on the Korean peninsula, and that was a position that Nigeria would support even at the multilateral level.
President Yoon Suk-yeol had sympathized with President Buhari over the massive havoc and human losses caused by floods in parts of Nigeria. Both leaders also discussed the need for cooperation at the multilateral level, particularly at the United Nations, with South Korea indicating interest to vie for a Security Council seat in 2024, and sought Nigeria's support, including the country's plan to host the 2030 Expo. From Seoul, South Korea, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong case for increased Korean investments in Nigeria's economy as the government sustains efforts towards improving the enable environment for businesses to flourish. This was while granting audience to captains of strategic industrial concerns in the Republic of Korea on the margins of the World Bio Summit in Seoul. State House correspondent Adam Sambo again has that.
As of 2021, there are at least 20 Korean companies registered and doing business in strategic areas of priority across the Nigerian economy, thereby contributing significantly to the nation's GDP and creating job opportunities. At this meeting are some of the CEOs of such companies.
Nigeria is the most important country as well as strategic market to our company, and we expand our business more actively in Nigeria.
The Hyundai Heavy Industry Group has been continuing its business relationship with Nigeria, especially in oil and gas sector since early 2000, and such relationship had reinforced by carrying out nearly $10 billion worth of business in areas of shipbuilding, offshore, and plant construction.
There is a lot for us to handshake with our two nations. Nigeria is ready for business and Nigeria is ready for Korean investment.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, this engagement provides an opportunity to not only show appreciation for their trust and confidence in Nigeria's economy, but solicit for more of such investments in other critical economic sectors that can be mutually beneficial to both Nigeria and the Republic of Korea.
Nigeria remains committed to creating a stable and enabling business environment for foreign investors. I implore you, therefore, to take advantage of the many investment opportunities in Nigeria, especially in the areas of oil and gas, trade manufacturing, ICT, creative industries, and culture exchange.
He said with a nominal GDP of $431.9 billion, the Africa's largest economy, which also offers low corporate tax regime, value-added tax rates, flexible labor market conditions, and simple procedures for establishing businesses, is indeed a very attractive investment destination.
I look forward to increased investment by Korean private companies in Nigeria as we continue to make determined efforts to improve the enabling environment for business to flourish.
With the changed fiscal environment, today, we are one of the most competitive business environment in the world in terms of the energy sector, and these opportunities are started coming up. Our most recent engagement has shown that Korean companies are taking interest in what we're doing. And after these meetings, we will continue to engage, and that will bring investment, and we're already paying up.
President Muhammadu Buhari also held a separate meeting with a group from Samsung Heavy Industries led by its president and chief executive officer J.T. Jong.
With the dwindling oil revenue in Nigeria, there is nothing left now rather than to see how we can reactivate and open new frontier and windows where we have multiple sources of revenue and source of income that we can develop our own country. The issue of blue economy is the key. Our presence here open doors. We discuss intensively with Samsung industry on our requirement.
Part of the discussions, Mr. Jamo said, centered on the revival and development of the shipbuilding industry as well as the fishing subsector of the nation's economy. From Seoul, South Korea, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And back home, the federal government says it will sustain its humanitarian efforts in giving assistance and support to victims of flooding across the country. On security, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed says Nigerians should refuse to be moved by any news of security threats, as the federal government is committed to protecting the lives of those living within Nigeria. Over now to State House correspondent Jide Onifade on these and other decisions taken at the Federal Executive Council meeting, presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo.
The meeting lasted for about 6 hours, and as expected, members spent most of this time discussing the flood situation in Nigeria.
This, what is happening today, is happening all over the world. Let's join hands together with all governments at every level, with all NGOs and private sector. This is a human affair, is a disaster which does not make a difference between one party or the other, or one part of the country or the other.
The issue at hand is flooding that has caused so much havoc around the country. No area is spared, and with the warnings received from relevant authorities and communicated to all concerned, nothing could be done to hold back the disaster. The Federal Executive Council received reports on this situation and what is being done to mitigate the effect and prevent future occurrence.
Those places relating to who builds where, who sets up a house in what place, those are local planning issues that are not the responsibility of the federal government. As my colleague in Water Resources has said rightly, that one of the things his ministry has done is to set, and I'm sure maybe we'll share the slides showing the flood warning system is a big pole marker that shows that when water reaches at this level, we are safe. If it gets to the yellow level, it's a warning to move. And those are some of the things government does. And it doesn't mean everybody will relocate. But as we speak here, some people did not relocate. Some might have. But the job we have to do now is to bring relief to those who are impacted. That's our job now.
Ministries, departments, and agencies are said to be collaborating in the effort to bring support and assistance to the people that are affected by the flooding. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development says states must also collaborate towards supporting the people, also on how to prevent future occurrences.
In the southern states, the military is still carrying out surveillance and aerial assessment of indebted communities to guide the ground rescue efforts and evacuation victims of the flood. As stated earlier, we have commenced the distribution of relief materials to affected states, and the Federal Ministry of Health has been requested by my ministry to interface with the state ministries to intervene in medical related matters resulting from post-flood epidemics.
We've been giving early warnings right from April when we had the annual flood outlook, listing all the local governments that will be affected. We wrote to the state governments informing them about the situation and listed all the local governments that will be affected, and also provided suggestions on how to mitigate the flood. So our hearts and minds go with the victims of the floods We wish quick recovery. We pray that those that lost their lives will rest in peace and give solace to their families. But we're not resting on our oars.
Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, was asked to respond to the security alert issued by some foreign embassies.
Stop the marketing your own country. Every country has its own security challenges. We have our own and we are facing them. Whose side are you?
In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now let's head to Lafia now, where Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government will continue to fight corruption in the country by using every legitimate mechanism as well as the use of the whistleblower policy. The Vice President stated this at the opening of a 2-day conference on the whistleblower policy for the North Central Zone of the country held in Lafia. Bilkisu Umar Gurku reports.
The whistleblower policy was introduced to inspire and as well reward patriotic Nigerians to join the fight against corruption and uncover any form of corruption in public service. Addressing participants through visual platform, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo said the policy, which has strengthened the fight against corruption in the country, has also gained remarkable achievements at the federal level. Hence the need to implement it at the state and local government levels.
And positions secure. At inception, there was widespread proposals to volunteer members failed to intervene. Such objectives were immediately out of the process. And once other objectives for state.
Governor Abdullahi Slim, represented by the Commissioner of Finance, Nasarawa State, Daniel Ageno, said that the introduction of this policy has changed the image of the country drastically in the eyes of the world in terms of corruption. Participants from the 6 states of the North Central said the conference is apt as it has given them more insight on what the whistleblowing is and hope a law should be enacted to protect the whistleblower.
For us to be able to reduce corruption, we need citizens, to partake in reporting wrongdoing, in reporting acts of corruption wherever they find one.
The 2-day conference on whistleblower policy has ended. We call on participants to vigorously step down messages learned in order to stem the tide of corruption in public and private sectors across the country. In Lafia, Bilkisu Umar Gurku, NTA News.
In the meantime, the federal government is putting in place a support mechanism to cushion the effect of growing inflation in the country. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, while presenting the 2022 budget performance to the House of Representatives Committee on Finance, said a committee is already in place and will in the coming days unveil its recommendations to address inflation. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
At this meeting to assess the performance of the 2022 budget while Parliament works on the 2023 expenditure, both sides were concerned about the challenges of implementing the 2022 budget caused by both local constraints and global happenings. That government, the minister said, is addressing the challenges, including inflation, which has hit 23%.
What's the plan of government? What are we doing to reduce the budget situation we find ourselves?
From the monetary side, what the central bank is doing is continuing to manage inflation by monetary tightening, by mopping up liquidity. The president has authorized the National Food Security Council, and we have held a meeting even yesterday evening on how some support will be provided. And one of the means will be releasing stocks from the strategic reserves, but also looking at how to provide some support in terms of inputs in fertilizer production.
Reforms to to stimulate the economy, she added, are yielding positive outcomes as the country focuses on improving non-oil revenue to mitigate impact of underperformance in the oil and gas sector due to oil theft and vandalism. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Healthcare Services is scrutinizing the fiscal performance of agencies in the sector as the various heads appear to defend their 2023 spending plans.
There is no way we can achieve universal health coverage, whatever the funding that is due to this and is given to it. Because the most important engine in the pillars of health is human resources for health. And where you lack unity among the human resources of health, it means no success will be recorded.
The committee urges collective efforts to improve services in the health sector for all citizens in line with international standards. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Service Commission is seeking 12 billion naira in the 2023 budget for the ongoing construction of the Commission's headquarters at the Budget Defense session of the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service. The Commission says it is to ensure the payment of the approved new condition of service. Gracious Uncle has that.
Second week of the 2023 budget defense sessions at the National Assembly. The first to appear before the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service is the management of the National Assembly Service Commission. From 7.7 billion naira in 2022, the Commission says that amount will not address its expenditures in 2023 and is seeking 19.3 billion naira.
What is this facilitation to the Commission of Service? This we want to make these adjustments to make sure that I will at least
From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has praised the contributions of the diaspora in promoting Nigeria's image abroad and acting as brand ambassadors following the emergence of Ayo Owodunni as the first black person to become a city councillor in Kitchener, London, Ontario, Canada. In a statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Gabriel Shehu, President Buhari says Owodunni's record-setting municipal election for Ward 5 highlights the various initiatives he undertook as a consultant, facilitator and trainer, supporting businesses in efforts to promote learning and bring diversity, inclusion and cultural understanding in the workplace. The President urged Nigerians in the diaspora to always promote the government's development agenda wherever they live and never be afraid to dream big. Time now to take our first breather, and when News Extra returns, politics holds sway with INEC summoning political parties to discussion table following the undesirable pattern of some campaigns. Join us for this and more in just a moment. Thanks for staying. From flooded grounds up to the highland, the scramble for political space by candidates is obvious. Some dancing, others donating money to sway more voters to their fold to capture power in 2023. INEC is, however, not comfortable with their speeches at the podium, so there is need for discussions. Mayor Ogidi reports that a meeting to address these was held in Abuja, but INEC also needs some in-house cleansing if the elections must be credible.
Dancing, now a tool of electioneering campaign. The steps are exciting, but sometimes the politician's speech is not a reflection of the beautiful dance steps and needs to be guided. Here are some of the initiators of such undecent campaigns. INEC meeting them to ensure campaign grounds are not used to launch attacks.
The Commission will continue to track the campaigns and will not hesitate to initiate the process of prosecution of violators as provided by law.
Sooner than later, our effort in ensuring decency and issue-based campaigns will manifest in the conduct of our members, the political parties, and candidates, as well as their spokesperson.
Voters register a critical component in the process. 12.2 million registrations recorded in the just suspended continuous voters registration exercise, 9.5 million valid, 2.7 million invalid, who are the accomplices of the invalid registration.
The Commission has so far identified 23 registration officers involved in this unethical conduct, and disciplinary action against the staff has commenced. There will be no incident form that enables ineligible persons to vote using other people's permanent voters' cards during elections.
Adding the 9.5 million voters to the existing 84 million, the preliminary voter register is now 93.5 million that will participate in the 2023 elections. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, supporters of the new Nigerian People's Party (NNPP) in Oruwan Jerbe gave a rousing reception to the presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who visited to donate some items to the community as part of campaign efforts.
The streets of Nyanya to Dorowan Jerme in Karshi development area of Nasarawa State were aglow with loyalists and supporters of the new Nigeria People's Party, who defied the scorching heat to receive the party's presidential candidate, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, a former governor of Kano State, visited during the campaign period to also inaugurate a block of classroom and other infrastructure he had donated to the community.
The last 3 years, there was no solar light. So we provided schools, we provided water, and we continue to support them.
The NNPP presidential candidate was accompanied by party chieftains, including Nasarawa State governorship candidate on the platform of the NNPP, Abdullahi Yakubu Meidoya.
This gentleman has done very good, especially in terms of improving the education of Nasarawa State pupils. We are going to consider the education of the less privileged as the most important priority to us.
The pupils of the school, who hitherto had no conducive learning environment, now have befitting friendly place and are excited. In Abuja, Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
Still on politics, Labour Party has released a comprehensive council list to prosecute its presidential campaign. The 1,453-member council retains former Senior Special Assistant on Public Affairs to President Goodluck Jonathan, Doyin Akupe, as Director General, AIG Mohammed Zarewa, Chairman and the Organizing Secretary of the party. Clement Ojukwu is the Campaign Council Secretary. The list also captured the names of the new management team, zonal and state coordinators, as well as all the committees of the presidential campaign.
This Campaign Council, no doubt, will be leading the presidential campaigns, and we are very confident that Nigerians will support us because we have the best of programs. We parade men of integrity, we parade men of dignity, and we believe that we have what it takes to be able to win the election and then provide a leadership for the country that will be able to change the narratives of the country.
The council is to be inaugurated on Friday ahead of the campaign flag-off on Saturday in Nasarawa State. And in Kaduna, the Yoruba community in the state has declared their support for Ahmed Bola Tinubu presidential bid, and they are appealing for more support and understanding among Nigerians to enable the ruling All Progressives Congress continue with ongoing laudable projects and programs. Omar Ajingi reports that the group made their position known in Kaduna at an interactive session with Mohammed Aliko Mohammed, one of the frontline supporters of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Northeast.
The convergence of this group is to drum support for the presidential bid of APC candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate Kashim Shettima. The Yoruba community in Kaduna State noted that endorsing Asiwaju Tinubu as their sole presidential candidate is as a result of their collective desire to have a purposeful leader who can make the country great.
We're going to educate people. The election is just about continuity.
While hosting the Yoruba community, Muhammad Aliko Muhammad said electing Asiwaju Tinubu as the next president is critical to this country. He noted that the APC presidential candidate remains a reference point in human and capital development, taking his past record into cognizance.
Our belief is that if you hand over the realms of this country to such a man that was able to transform a state that was in dire straits to something that is of enviable position today, they will do the same thing here.
Muhammad called on Nigerians to join Asiwaju Tinubu's trend to enable him succeed President Muhammadu Buhari in the next year's elections. In Kaduna, Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
And away from politics, National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria is assuring the federal government of its cooperation in achieving credible census data in 2023. Olushe Adiabo reports that this was among resolutions during visits of an NCTR delegation led by Dr. Yahaya Abubakar Etsunipe to the NPC headquarters in Abuja.
A visit from royal fathers, one the National Population Commission says is the first time in the Commission's history. Its leadership is appreciative of the gesture and trusting that this will no doubt enhance mobilization efforts of counting all citizens in Nigeria come April next year and meeting the target of leaving no one behind.
Having seen the effect of the climate on our environment, we have also modified our questionnaire to address issues of environment and climate change. So it makes this census not just digital, it is a green census.
The NPC chairman, Nasu Isakwara, took time to explain to the traditional rulers successes recorded in all pre-census activities, as well as arrangements that have been put in place to achieving a transparent and verifiable census outcome in 2023.
Our coming here to show the Commission that we are very much ready, the stakeholders are very much concerned, and we are ready to work in all the stages of this exercise.
It's not all the time you see traditional rulers like this coming out to ask what can we do. It first and foremost underscores the fact that there is a buy-in. And if there is any set of people that we need their cooperation, it is these traditional rulers.
The National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria is planning for its national conference and is expecting the chairman of the NPC to use the platform to brief its members on expectations and details of the 2023 population and housing census. In Abuja, Olushe Adiagbo, NTA News.
A joint operation campaign planning exercise codenamed Skylock 2022 has commenced at the Nigerian Army War College, Abuja. What is the implication of the exercise on the current emerging security challenges in the country? Defense correspondent Ismail Musa will tell us.
Terrorism truncating socio-economic activities in the northeast, banditry in the northwest and north central, while secessionist agitation is crippling investments in the southeast region. These complex and dynamic security challenges requires a comprehensive military approach and planning to effectively counter the growing threats.
Today's event therefore demonstrates the ability of the war colleges to ensure they maintain an enduring tradition that will enshrine joint planning culture at the military operational leadership level. This culture is indeed essential to the development of operational level capacity towards tackling the multifarious contemporary security challenges and for future military operations.
Exercise Skylock, second in the series, is developing the capacity of these military and paramilitary officers in timely campaign planning and enhanced use of land, maritime, and air assets to combat emerging tensions.
The conduct of this second year operation plan is one of the milestones to promote understanding and collaboration not only between the colleges but also to enhance jointness in our armed forces as a whole.
Participants are drawn from the services war colleges and 4 allied countries. From the Nigerian Army War College in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
More security news now. The Nigeria Police Force has commenced a simulation exercise codenamed Operation Daukin Gaggawa, which means quick intervention to decimate the activities of non-state actors and other criminal elements in the FCT and other parts of the country. Francis Pom reports that the simulation exercise is a response to the U.S. adversary on security in the FCT.
It is a simulation exercise by the Nigeria Police Force named Operation Daukin Gaggawa. Key components of the Nigeria Police Force comprising the Counter-Terrorism Unit, Police Mobile Force, Special Protection Unit, Anti-Bomb Squad, K9 Dog Section, Air Wing and other critical components have been deployed for the operation.
This is a step being taken by the Special General Police to address some of these security challenges.
So always having at the back of the before the commencement of the exercise, all the components involved in the operations were debriefed by the various sub-commanders and the AIG in charge of Counter-Terrorism Unit.
The beauty in a simulation exercise lies in the opportunity to receive feedback.
Then comes the operations proper. The exercise, which is expected to last for about 5 days, is being carried out at the force headquarters and Poor Children's School, Abuja.
Specifically chose attack on an educational institution because for some years that has been the major challenge the country has suffered.
Government has provided the necessary logistics for the exercise. The force assures that after the simulation exercise, the operation will be fully launched at the various commands and formations, while personnel trained will be deployed to areas of responsibility.
We are on top of the situation. We are fully prepared to face any challenges coming to us. The Nigeria Police is well prepared, well equipped and ready to counter this threat.
With this exercise, the force says it is sure of providing adequate security for all before, during and after the 2023 general elections. Francis from NTA News.
Interesting. In our next segment, we shall bring you some cheering news around agroeconomy. Food scarcity. What is the Lagos story? Stay tuned for details and how Digital Nigeria Day took the attention of Nigerians. Join us again. Welcome back to News Extra, and it's now time for us to take our business for the day. Now we have Musa Bakar with that.
Thank you, Fatima. The Securities and Exchange Commission says the non-interest segment of the capital market is capable of financing the housing sector, which will lead to better well-being of the citizenry as well as general performance of the other sectors of the economy. Director General of the SEC, Lamido Yuguda, stated this during a webinar with the theme, the non-interest capital market as panacea to mortgage financing in Nigeria. The SEC DG stated that governments at both federal and state levels and businesses in Nigeria have been tapping various available sources of financing, including capital market, products for funding real estate developments. The methods of finance have various associated costs, some which are deemed to be high. The shrinking value of the currencies of most developing economies is driving up food and fuel prices in ways that could deepen the food and energy crisis that many of them already face. This is according to the World Bank's latest Commodity Markets Outlook report. The report says in US dollar terms, the prices of most commodities have declined from their recent peaks, and concerns of an impending global recession from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The price of Brent crude oil in US dollars fell nearly 6%, yet because of currency depreciations, almost 60% of oil imports in emerging market and developing economies saw an increase in domestic currency oil prices during this period. Nearly 90% of these economies also saw a larger increase in wheat prices in local currency terms compared to the rise in US dollars. And to capital market, the equities market closed Wednesday trading session in positive territory. The share index climbed 0.16% at 44,859.78 basis point. A total turnover of 93.5 million units of securities worth 3.3 billion naira exchanged hands in 3,118 deals. Market capitalization increased to 24.4 trillion naira. Geregu, Sterling Bank and Access Holding PLC were the most traded stocks in terms of volume. And that's business news. It's back to you, Fatima.
Well, thank you for the business package, Musa. The Coalition of Developing Countries, D8, are of the view that holding each other hand to hand is the only way to change their status from developing to developed economies. This was at the opening of a two-day conference organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in collaboration with SMEDEN. Benny Adams reports.
In this room are stakeholders in MSME space from Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Pakistan, Turkey, and Nigeria.
Inadequate working capital, stiff competition from larger companies, difficulties in sourcing raw materials, low capacity utilization, lack of management strategies.
All are here to push for a change in narrative and promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, increase in employment opportunities, in addition to sustainable industrialization, innovation, and good health for all.
Trade in health for enhanced equitable access to pharmaceutical products for the most vulnerable population.
There was a drop of more than 2 million MSMEs, largely as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and other local and global socio-economic variables. My worry now is that another count of MSMEs in Nigeria may show a further decrease in their number as new emerging global issues are regularly being thrown up.
This gap is exactly what the G8 member states seek to bridge by extending the use of technology, improving product export and development of agri-value chain, in addition to access to finance.
Our country is strong in trade of pharmaceuticals and medical devices and is willing to cooperate with the D8 countries on the health system and equipment. We will be happy to share our know-how in healthcare.
Addressing challenges faced by MSMEs with special focus on health market within the D8 region. It is hoped that at the end of deliberations, members will succeed in reviewing the policies and regulations to enhance competitiveness of the D8 MSMEs in the nearest future. Benny Adams, NTA News.
And in Lagos, motorists and commuters in the state never envisaged fuel scarcity, especially because the product has remained readily available. So waking up and finding queues at filling stations was a surprise to them. Annie Daniels, who went around town to see things for herself, now reports.
With
filling station here at Abuja, the motorists have testified that they are known for selling at the government-approved price, and they hardly run out of fuel. Today, however, the story is different. They told me that some of them have been here for as long as 5 hours, yet not been able to get the products.
We don't even know that something like this is going to come up before our fuel finish.
Observe this, there were kind of little key here and there, but before you know it, this morning it has become full blown.
I'm not know, maybe I'll see the fuel buy. If they will sell, we'll go wait for them.
The queues are a reflection of the situation on ground at filling stations in the city.
This morning when I came, I asked the attendant, how much are you people selling for? They say 170, but I have to pay 500 naira for keg.
President, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Chinedu Okoronko, clears the air.
We should stop panic buying of this petroleum product. And NPC have assured us of availability and even a reserve of even over 60 days, which to me is enormous.
While still conducting my interviews, I saw motorists driving into this filling station. The station manager, who declined speaking on camera, informed me that consignment has just been received with instruction to commence sales immediately.
I'm the first person to attend to, and I've gotten my fuel.
Motorists in Ikeja are happy they can now get the products. And not just that, that's at the government-approved price. They also hope the same will be said about other stations across Lagos State. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Thank you, Amy, for that. Now, digital technologies are no doubt driving transformative changes in human activities and existence. So, at the Digital Nigeria Conference 2022, it was all acknowledgement of the unprecedented role ICT plays as the fastest growing sector of Nigeria's economy that has created more jobs, with indigenous inventions being globally recognized. Chimdamine Dibisi reports that the National Information and Technology Development Agency, NITDA, is powering the 3-day event.
From the digital registration point to the display of this human assistance robot and artificial intelligence technology, locally coupled, Digital Nigeria Day 2022 spells all high-tech. This gathering of indigenous and international ICT industry players are discussing digital transformation as pathway to sustainable digital economy.
Especially as I stand.
New trends in emerging technologies take center stage here. Usefulness of blockchain and metaverse in e-commerce, industry and banking highlighted. Nigeria's digital technology prowess is recognized.
This administration, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari and the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ibrahim Pantami, designed our approach to succeed in digital economy. We are leading globally when it comes to digitization in the financial sector. Using blockchain technology, one can decrease the cost of their transaction, even making transactions worldwide, the more free in charge.
Information and Culture Minister agrees with these gains but cautions against abuse of the internet space.
It has also created a lot of problems in terms of fake news, in terms of disinformation, in terms of
The Communications and Digital Economy boss recounts how far his constituency has gone in fully implementing almost all the 19 policies and mandates, with groundbreaking results that have improved the nation's economy and placed her on the global digital map, earning above excellent marks at the just concluded ministerial retreat.
Without involving other private institutions, we have trained 823,232 Nigerians on a cutting-edge digital skill. We have been intercepting so many things, reporting to government institutions. Even if the corrupt practice is perpetrated and perpetuated, you will be able to intercept. And that is the benefit of technology.
A book on giant strides of Professor Pantami in advancing Nigeria's drive towards a digital economy was unveiled in Abuja. Chimdema DBC, NTA News.
The Director General One of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, is alerting the general public of a fake website purportedly belonging to the media organization. The Director General in a statement says the website hosted by Cloudflare Incorporated is not a Voice of Nigeria website. He explains that the domain name used for registering the fake website is org.ng, which does not belong to the federal government of Nigeria. According to the DG, the Voice of Nigeria, like most ministries, departments and agencies, uses the approved code domain name, which is www.one.gov.ng. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Eze Ogubechendu of Ezema Olu Kingdom, His Royal Majesty Lawrence Agubuzu, Chairman Enugu State Council of Traditional Rulers and Chancellor, Federal University, Kashiri, Gombe State, as he turns 80. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media Publicity, Gabriel Shehu, states that President Buhari appreciates the former Nigerian High Commissioner to Zambia and Malawi for his strong devotion to Nigeria and for identifying with his administration's tireless efforts to improve security, ensure economic stability and unity. A man whose dedication to the country rightly earned him national honor in the rank of Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, CFR. Now, when News Extra returns from the next break we are about to take, we shall bring you some news on tourism. Join us again. Thanks so much for staying tuned. With more than 147 million active internet subscriptions and a tele-density of almost 97%, Nigeria is said to have a ready-made and vast domestic market for tourism development. Key players in the Nigerian tourism sector are therefore leveraging on this to drive economic prosperity. Diana Ajale reports that the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation is championing the cause with the unveiling of Tourism Hackathon, a platform that will provide innovative solutions across the tourism value chain.
Tourism has evolved to become one of the fastest growing industries globally, with enormous opportunities yet to be fully tapped. This meeting is exploring Nigeria's enormous human and material resources, which showcase the true spirit of the country. It is also expected to help build a more sustainable tourism agenda for national development in an age of digital disruption. Stakeholders are rethinking how to deploy innovation to expand the market.
Our goal is to improve the country's ranking on the World Economic Forum's Complexity Index by harnessing the growing popularity of digital technologies to solve relevant problems across the tourism value chain in Nigeria. And we are hoping to push the states to adopt the stuff acting like in the states, because that also helps the local ecosystem to grow.
The Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation is looking for Nigerians with technological ingenuity that will come up with real-time solutions using digital tools to solve problems within the tourism ecosystem.
We're also looking for ideas that are scalable, meaning it wouldn't just be restricted to the Nigerian region.
We believe that this is going to take tourism to a new level. It's going to create new innovation, bring about new ideas.
We are really excited about it because JWT is not going to use it to launch hackathon for Africa, not just Nigeria. So it's a really good and a big one for us.
5 unique ideas will be selected from entries across the 6 geopolitical zones of the Federation to be celebrated at the Tourism Conference in November this year. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Now, memorable holidays in Dubai are usually spiced up with a day of fun on the sand dunes of the Sahara Desert, which comes at a skyrocketing cost. Only a few know that there is a similar place in Yusufari in Yobe State, which can be a substitute if properly harnessed. Abdullah Abdullah Mohammed journeyed to the village, which is at the Nigeria-Niger border. So let's watch.
The trip is not for the faint-hearted, especially during the wet season when torrential rains have hit the roads. A second hurdle with a roaring river to cross. Another major stumbling stone on our way here, they call this place Jumbam, is about 90 kilometers to Gashua. Gashua on our way to Yusufari. Our next mode of transport is going to be a local canoe like this one. We're going to step in and it will take us all across the water here. Then towards that way where our vehicles are waiting, a temporary motor path that will take us to Gashua. A bus ride through the town renews the sad memories of the abduction of the schoolgirls, and thereafter, Gashua, an ancient fishing town, welcomes. At Yusufari, the third road ends. We hit the sands of the Sahara with a special vehicle. 20 kilometers journey took us 2.5 hours to conquer. Beautiful landscapes in villages with the likes of the Garden of Eden. Descending from one of the heap of sand dunes here in Chulo Chulo, I concluded that the case of this sand dune is a double-edged one for the people of Chulo Chulo. One is a calamity in the form of desert encroachment, and secondly, it is a blessing if properly harnessed. The minus here is the encouragement of the desert eating up arable lands and homes, but the plus is inestimable.
I have not done all through the entire span of Yusufari, but I mean, what I see there is beautiful.
An attempt to write history left the prints of our bare foot on the sands of the Sahara, but my mind was thinking beyond the footprints. Tired from climbing mountains and mountains of sand dunes, you finally come and relax under the cool shades of palm trees that have been sustained here for centuries by the density of an oasis.
Tula is very, progressing border town, I would say. We have recently, created a district headquarters there. Tula now is a district headquarters. So we have seen it is improving, it is progressing. We have seen it, its site is right on the border with Nigeria. So there's every hope this place will be a wonderful place.
When it was time to bid goodbye to Tulo Tulo, the thoughts of having a vibrant road network, security and resting places will do the magic for tourists. In Yusufari, local government of Yobe State, Abdullah Mohammed, NTA News.
Isn't Nigeria beautiful? Sure it is. Time to take our last break for the night. Right after that, we'll bring you a bit of sports. Despite some level of successes in Nigeria's sporting activities, there are general concerns on growing factionalization in sports federations and other sporting activities in Nigeria. Ostia Demodu's report highlights the challenges in this regard and the way forward.
To make it 3! Exports have over time become a source of pride and unity amongst Nigerians, especially when Nigerian contingents excel in competitions. However, there is a cankerworm that is eating deep into the foundation of Nigerian sports. You may call it a clique or a faction within the sports federations and other levels endlessly engaged in power tussle.
And see some people who just hold on to power, so breed this bad blood and people wanting to fight and okay, let's share this power. Ego is also part of it, greed and winning at all syndrome.
The unfortunate phenomenon of factionalization has in many ways undermined the growth of sports, either through lack of planning, local or international bans from the government or affiliate bodies. Again, man-hours and financial resources are wasted on needless litigations at the expense of sports development.
there is no gainsaying that behind ICT, sport is the next highest employer of labor. It goes to tell you the economic value sport adds to any nation that takes advantage of it. Now, a house divided itself, like they say, cannot stand. When you now have a very valid tool that can help the economy shattered, all because of selfish interest, and there is no way that kind of sector that contributes heavily to any economy that takes advantage will contribute what it's supposed to contribute.
Interestingly, there are laid down rules and regulations guiding the activities of these sports federations in line with the requirements of affiliate bodies.
Then people also need to follow the rules. If you agree, people will say, oh, there's no system. No, there's a system. Like, for example, the sport that I know, the statute is very clear. You don't go to court. If you agree, you can ask NFA to set up arbitration for you. Bring your administrator, NFA bring their own, resolve it. If you are not satisfied, you apply to FIFA. If you are not satisfied, you go to court arbitration for sports.
A house divided against itself is bound to fall. Therefore, it requires patriotism and proper conflict resolution mechanism to overcome these challenges.
And that's all on News Extra. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Fatima Mabuba. Good night.